Hi everybody. Hey, how you doing? Um, I'm Lorina Quigley. I am the mystic, Lorina Q, the mystic medium is my uh, handle on YouTube. Anyway, I'm here today to talk a little bit about dreams, precognition, mediumship, and mediumship in your dreams. Also some astral projection, all sorts of fun things because they all tie in together and they all support each other and actually can help you become more psychic or more conscious, all of these things, because they really all go hand in hand as far as mediumship, psychic development, dream work, lucid dreaming work, astral projection work, deep trance work. They all go hand in hand. So if you focus on one of those things, it will help other things. So they're all worth doing and exploring. And I'm an explorer. That's what I do. I am an explorer. I'm not just a mystic medium, but I'm also an explorer, and I have been for many years, at least 40 years or so. As soon as I could actually growing up in Utah, as soon as I could start exploring this realm of the mystic, I was out there trying to find information. And this is back then when you went to the bookstore, there was only one section about any of these kinds of subjects. So, yeah, one small section. And it's changed quite a bit since then. So, anyway, so I wanted to start with, hey, I had a dream the other day. I had several. I've been having a lot of dreams lately, like super, super vivid, interesting dreams. And I think it's in the air. Have you guys been having a lot of dreams lately? My dream life is extra, extra active right now. So I don't think it's just me. I think it's in the air. So I'm just wondering if other people are experiencing that too. Anyway, so I had this dream the other day. This is about, today is October 17th. So this was probably 5 days ago or something. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so what I dreamed was I lived in Brooklyn for a while, several places. This is all in Carroll Gardens, old Italian neighborhood. Wonderful old Italian neighborhood. I loved it there. Anyway, I was in one of the buildings. It was on Columbia Street, if you're familiar. Columbia Street, right by, almost in Red Hook. If you know Brooklyn, you'll know what that means. I was in an old apartment that was on Columbia Street in Carroll Gardens. I lived on the, I think, 1, 2, 3, fourth floor. Fourth floor walk up. Yeah, I had nicer legs back then. Anyway, there's a lot of that in New York. I was in that apartment and I started to see, so I'm kind of looking through a wall in this dream. And it was also the kind of a combination between two different apartments that I, excuse me, lived in Brooklyn. The other one was on Clinton Street. So almost like less than half a mile away. Anyway, they're kind of merging these two apartments in my dreams because that can happen in dreams. I started seeing buildings collapsing, like through the wall to the north. I saw a building collapse, like an old apartment building collapse in front of me. Now, I have to preface this with that apartment that I lived in faced the west, and I could see the World Trade Center from there, from the living room window. And I did see the first building of the World Trade Center collapse from that window. And then you couldn't see the second building collapse because there was so much debris that blew everywhere that you couldn't see anything after that. Just dust and just all the, yeah, the papers flying through the air, and it was crazy. Anyway, that happened in that apartment when I was living in this apartment. So I did see a building collapse when I lived in that apartment. So I'm watching to the, north. I'm seeing this old apartment building just completely like rumbling, just fall. And then to the west of me, the old apartments from across the street started collapsing. And then the apartment that I was in started collapsing. And it was almost as if it were in slow motion. I'm watching the building and be in it at the same time, watching it collapse, and I see my body rise up and out and over, and I'm laying in the rubble of this collapsed building. So I saw a bunch of buildings collapsing. Now, I was not hurt. I was laying on the ground, and these two really big, they looked Tongan, these two really big men came over and scooped me up, asked if I was hurt, and I wasn't hurt, and they put me in an ambulance, and I kept saying, no, I'm okay, there's nothing wrong, I'm okay. And they were really funny, and they were laughing, and I was just laughing with them. It's like, wow, this is pretty wild, what's going on here? And then we're on the way to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital, I see a bunch of, there are bus loads of prison criminals got people who were in jail. These were all men who were being dropped off at the hospital, and they were in prison outfits. They were all being dropped off at the hospital, the same one that I was going to. And they said, and the one guy, without saying it, he was telling me, you don't want to go to this hospital, you need to go to a different one. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, I don't need to go to a hospital, but okay. Anyway, that was the end of that dream. And anyway, so I had to ask myself, so what is this dream? And then I had a very significant dream about 2 days later with a lot of dead relatives from my dad's side of the family showing up at a neighbor's house in a neighborhood that I grew up in Utah, like right across the street. Very strange. So a lot of stuff is going on in the astral plane. Anyway, when you have experiences like this, when you have dreams like this, and this is what I do, is what does that mean? I mean, is that personal for me? Is that a personal message, like my own personal tower card, if you know what the tarot cards look like? Or is this collective? Is something shifting in our co-creation on Earth here, where things are going to be collapsing? And it made me think about maybe there's going to be a partial collapse of the structure, the financial structure in society, or what is really going on. And it feels like we're on the precipice of a new paradigm, and there is something really shifting. And in this dream, I was fine. And I didn't see a lot of people dying around me. I just saw people, buildings collapsing around me. So what does that say? Is this personal, or does it have to do with a bigger collective message? Anyway, I'm going to leave that to you guys. It feels to me like it could be both. Very possibly it could be both. That things are shifting and changing. And so just to be aware of that. Anyway, I wanted to share that. Anyway, and I also wanted to talk about dreams and precognitive dreams, because I did have the night that before 9/11, that night in the middle of the night, I woke up with I had such a horrible dream. And it was about people, and they felt like they were in the Middle East. They were celebrating. They were on the streets celebrating, and it was mostly men celebrating in the streets. And there was like a big giant cake, that was made from the blood of people who had died. And that's really kind of, even just saying that, it's like, oh my God, that's horrible. And I remember waking up that morning going, oh my God, I had the most horrible dream. Well, that morning, 9/11 happened. And I knew other people who had had dreams about 9/11 happening, or seeing the Twin Towers fall. This could happen in dreams, especially, and I was going to say sometimes events are predetermined. They're predetermined, so we have free will. We can choose what we want. We can choose what we're going to create in our lives and go through that process of creating it, becoming conscious of what we were creating, and then get on that path of creating the thing that you want, or being on that path. Excuse me, but sometimes there are predetermined events, and they talk a lot about this in remote viewing, where sometimes a group of remote viewers might be looking at something, doing a blind target to look at this one thing, but something else keeps showing up that is nothing close to what they're supposed to see or supposed to be looking at. And they don't know what it is, but there's like this interruption pattern of like, because there's an event marker in time that is creating a lot of psychic energy around this particular thing. So a lot of people might be picking up on that thing because it's in the collective consciousness or unconsciousness, and it hasn't come into fruition yet as an experience. Anyway, just wondering what you think about that, because that can happen. I've had a lot of dreams, and this is where dreams are super important. I've had a lot of dreams where, like my little sister, she came in after she died and gave me information, and she did that for quite some time. This is a mediumship dream. But you can also have experiences where you're astral projecting and meet your loved ones. And you can ask for this to happen before you astral project, or you can ask for dreams where people come to you and just see what happens, because you can help calling on that, asking for it, asking for your loved ones to come through and help you. It can happen. They can show up through astral projection, through lucid dreaming. In fact, in lucid dreaming, you can call on them and see and have them show up and get information from them. Or you can have dreams with them showing up. I've had a lot of significant dreams in my life that I have been given information. And these are a type of mediumship dreams. Anyway, it's pretty cool when it happens. But they're giving you advice about, and it might be what's coming. So it might be precognitive, but it also may be just information that you need to hear. It can be any of those things. But the most important thing about that is to ask. Ask for that to happen and then see what happens. And also a great technique around dreams is just to start writing them all down. When you pay attention to your dreams and start writing them down, more information will come in through your dreams, because it's telling your psyche, or your subconscious or your superconscious, whatever part you want to call that, it's telling another part of yourself that has control over that you're actually paying attention, so more information will come that way. Yeah, pretty cool. And also you can do the same thing in trance states. You can do deep trance work, and that's just going into a really deep state of relaxation. You can use binaural beats to do that. There are many ways that you can actually do that. Binaural beats, theta, even delta if you're not, but you have to train yourself to not fall asleep and go into a delta state. And then you can ask for loved ones to show up, or you can ask for healing, whatever you would like to create. You can do that in deep trance states too. You don't have to astral project or dream. So you can have control of that situation by learning how to go into deeper trance states and ask for healing, and then imagine what that is, or ask for a loved one to show up. The imagination Sometimes when we imagine things, we think we've just made it up. But actually, your imagination is a connection into the astral realm where you can bring that information or that person in and start working with it. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And even in astral projection, you can intend, and intention is a really great tool to work with, having an intention of what you want, and then try to astral project and go for it. So, and I did want to go into just a little bit of how to astral project. One of my favorite books about astral projection is Preston Dennett. He has a YouTube video. He has talked about this on his, he has a YouTube channel. It's probably just under his name. I can't remember. I haven't looked it up in a while. But he has some great videos. He is a UFO researcher and has some great books and knowledge and information about all of this stuff. His book on astral projection is a really fun read. It's really interesting. He's a really good writer, which I really appreciate. And because I read a lot of books, I love people who write well. And his adventures doing OBEs is just phenomenal. So it's fun to read. But on the back of his book, there is a short list of how to astral project. And so check that book out because it's great information. But I just wanted to do some quick tips on astral projection. First of all, when you relax, so you're going to go into a deep trance state. One of the best things to do is not move. And it's really hard to not move. We want to move. When we're that still, we suddenly, our nose itches or our elbow itches, or I need to get more comfortable. And so try not to move as much as possible. Try not to move. Be as still as possible. And a good way to help you get into that state is to actually do some breath work beforehand, because it will help move a lot of energy that might be in the way, a lot of kind of anxiousness or whatever, help move the energy of the day out of your consciousness so you're just more there. And then you can do, what you can do is do, you can also do progressive relaxation. And what progressive relaxation is just like very simple. Okay, I'm going to feel my feet. I'm going to feel my feet relax and go my ankles, feeling my ankles relax and just letting go of any energy that's there. Going up to your shins and then your knees and then your legs and just relaxing that body part and allowing it to relax. And you do this throughout your whole body. It's easier if you start at your feet and go up to your head, because if you start with your head, you might have a lot of thoughts in there that that you've been paying attention to that are harder to relax. So if you start from your feet and you're paying attention to your body and bringing that relaxation up from your feet through the rest of your body, by the time you get to your head, it's actually easier to relax by the time you've given yourself enough time to get up there. So progressive relaxation. And then once you're in that state, you pay attention to sound, listening to the vibrations that might be going on around you, because sound and astral projection go hand in hand. You might start hearing some really interesting sounds as you try and astral project. And that means if you start hearing some like buzzing noises, or it can even move into some roaring noises, that means you're really, really close. You might have some body paralysis, which means you're in a super deep state of relaxation. If you start feeling like you can't move, don't panic. You're getting ready to astral project. Also, after that, my favorite way is just imagine that you're rolling out of your body. You're just like, okay, so I'm laying here, and what I'm doing is I'm imagining that I'm rolling over. I'm imagining that I'm rolling over. And in that process of imagining, sort of like when you're a kid and you accidentally roll out of bed, you might have been astral projecting. or you might have rolled out of your bed, but it's a really good technique. But sometimes I also like the swing method, which you're pretending you're a kid in a swing, like just you're in a swing and you're going back and forth and back and forth. And at some point, you may actually just lift up, or you can imagine that that you're lifting up your hand without really lifting up your hand, and see what happens. And you might have some really interesting experiences because you might partially astral project, like you're starting to. Like I've had my head totally flip out of my body and go through the bed, like under the bed. But then I was so startled, I'm like, ugh, and you come back in. Or things like that. Or you might just suddenly be somewhere else. And it wasn't as an obvious coming out of the body. And you're somewhere else. Because I've done that too, where you're just suddenly like, oh, whoa, I'm somewhere else. Like I'm in a different dimension kind of thing. So it's something to be experimented with. So you can look it up, different visualizations to use to climb out of the body. There's also the rope technique where you imagine there's a really big rope like coming out of the sky right in front of you, right at your chest, and it has knots in it. And so you're grabbing, to me it has knots in it, it can just be, and it's a big rope so it can hold your weight. And so what you do is you imagine that you're grabbing the rope and you're pulling yourself out of your body. But you don't want to think, oh, I'm pulling myself out of my body. No, just, oh, look at that rope. Let's see what happens if I pull on it. Anyway, those are a few techniques and ideas. Anyway, I think that's it for now. Peanut's getting a little restless. Yeah, he hasn't barked yet, so that's really, really good. Anyway, thank you for listening. Let me know if you have any fun tips or techniques for astral projection, and also what you might think about that dream, or dreams that you may have had about things coming up in the future. I think all of these things happen more often than we realize, but we don't share this information, and we need to share this information because we're all here together, you know. Anyway, I think that's it for now. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.